We moved a lot. The announcement came when it was during the winter of my 10th grade year. We had just went back to school from winter break, and my mom told me, hey, we're moving back to Virginia. I was a teenager at that point. My relationship with my mother was already strained based on what happened when we lived in Virginia previously, plus a plethora of other things. And I was a teenager, so you know how that goes, mom and girl relationships as teenagers. So it was very strained. And she told us that we were moving back to Virginia, and I was angry. I didn't want to come back here. I didn't want to come back to where my trauma happened. We were moving to the same town. I did not want that at all. I was very, very upset, to the point where I told my mom I didn't want to move back here. I wanted to go move with my dad, who I hadn't seen in a decade. But that was logical to me. I did not want to face the trauma, or even not knowing that I would face the trauma. I didn't want to be back in the same atmosphere or the same town that my trauma took place in. My first and last name is Amber Rowland. My childhood was not very typical. I was the adult in the house for a long time. My mom was a single mom. My brothers and I were left a lot at home by ourselves, and I was forced into raising them or ensuring their well-being at a very young age. Like 8 is when I remember that starting. My mom was there, but she wasn't in the house. She worked 2 jobs, and my stepdad came into the picture a while later. But my childhood, I remember being alone with my brothers for the majority of the time.
My name is Sarita Dawkins. I'm the Clinical Executive Officer of Teachable Moments Therapy Group. So here you have in the home the dynamics of a family where you have a young girl who is now placed into the responsibility of being the parent amongst her siblings, where the mother is not present in the home, of course, because of things that happen. Sometimes it's natural for a child to have to step up and help out amongst the family, especially amongst African American families. And so it becomes hard for a child to go back and forth in between those roles of being parentified and also being a child, and also maintaining a relationship with a mother and her siblings, where it's like, yeah, I'm your sister, but I'm also your parent. So you still have to listen to me. You still have to do what I tell you to do. And then also trying to balance that, because it's like, you're my mom, but you're not my mom. You're not here. I'm the mom, essentially. And so that's the beginning of where the rebellion in the relationship begins to split, because the child is no longer thinking in a childlike manner.
I was born in North Carolina. We stayed in North Carolina until I was 4. We moved to Gloucester, Virginia, which is like a rural town, really country. We stayed there until I was in middle school in 6th grade. Then we moved back to North Carolina. Stayed in North Carolina till I was in 10th grade. Then we moved back to Gloucester. So we moved a lot as a kid. There was not a lot of stability, so. The first move to Virginia, I was young, so I didn't really understand why we were moving. I was just upset because I grew up with all the same kids. I went to the same elementary school from kindergarten to 5th grade. Then we moved to 6th grade, and I was meeting more friends because, middle school, you blend schools from elementary school. So I was upset that I had to leave the stability that I did have at school. I was upset that I had to leave that and then make new friends. Wasn't really good at making new friends because I was so introverted because of things that happened, my trauma, and it was pretty upsetting. It took a long time to get used to. My mom had a male friend that we would visit a lot on numerous occasions. Not sure what their relationship was, but this man didn't have any children of his own. Well, he did, but they were adult children. So my mother would take me and my brothers over there and sometimes leave us alone. She would leave and we would still be there. So the trauma that happened was one night that we were there. My mom's friend told my brothers to sleep in one room and I was going to sleep in his room, and he sexually abused me numerous times, and every time that we would go over there, that's what happened. It was to the point where he told me to not say anything was our little secret. I was 11, so I didn't know any better to say anything. But in enduring that trauma, and internalizing it and not saying anything to anybody, it changed my perspective of my own life, and it took me completely by surprise. And I didn't know what to do in the act of me being molested by this man. I had no clue what to do, so I just sat there and took it. And that one instance changed my life forever. How do I tell my family that I have been assaulted by a man sexually? What does that even look like? So again, I just didn't say anything. Like I said, we moved a lot. The announcement came when it was during the winter of my 10th grade year. We had just went back to school from winter break, and my mom told me, hey, we're moving back to Virginia. I was a teenager at that point. My relationship with my mother was already strained based on what happened when we lived in Virginia previously, plus a plethora of other things. And I was a teenager, so you know how that goes, mom and girl relationships as teenagers. So it was very strained. And she told us that we were moving back to Virginia, and I was angry. I didn't want to come back here. I have not seen him since he assaulted me. I don't even know where. No, it wasn't one time. It was numerous times. I don't know where he is. I don't care to know where he is. In dealing with the fear and anxiety and everything that came with realizing that I would possibly be back in the same city, town with the man who assaulted me, I internalized everything. I ran away. I acted out. I internalized my feelings, but my feelings came out expressed as outward, what a parent would say acting out. I smoked weed, I smoked, drank alcohol. It was, that's how I dealt with that fear, because I didn't want to face the fact. So I masked it with substances. I don't think that it was abuse. It was just underage use. And then it wasn't to the point where I was like drunk all the time. I just turned to that to cope when I needed it, or where I felt like I needed it. I was actually introduced to alcohol. I was probably 9 when I had my first drink, and it was by my family. So that played a role in, if something is wrong or something is bothering you, or if you're happy and around a whole bunch of people, alcohol is what you do. So that's what I did. I ran away twice when we moved back to Virginia. A few of the friends that I did get when I moved back into high school here in Virginia, their parents weren't really home a lot, so they really had an open house to whatever. I ran away for like a few days. It wasn't like I wasn't no thug, and I wanted to be, but I wanted to portray that I was, but I wasn't. I ran away for like 2 or 3 days at a time. Then I came back, and then it happened again. Same 2 or 3 days, same place that I went, but I just was bumping heads with my mom and my stepdad. I didn't want to obey basically the rules of the house, so I ran away, but I came back. I was a punk, for real. Trying to be a thug. After the abuse, I was upset with my mother, even though I didn't tell her, because I felt that it was her fault, that she put me in that situation, and she knew that what was going to happen. So I was upset with her. I blamed it on my mother for a very long time, until last year, actually, when I had a conversation with her when I started this project, and I told her what I was going to be talking about, and I asked her the difficult question, and it took a lot out of me to actually grow the ability to even say it out of my mouth to her. Even though I had been healing from it in the background, it still took a lot, because it brought everything rushing back to the front of my mindset. And I didn't ask her for a long time because I was scared that she was going to say that she didn't know. I talked to her. We had a very open conversation about it. I learned some things that happened to her in her childhood in that conversation, but I told her that I said I hated you as a kid because I felt like you put me in a situation that took away my innocence, and I didn't know how to tell you, but I was still mad at you. And she told me that she had no idea that it happened on any occasion. She admitted that her putting me in that situation, the whole overall leaving me at this man's house, was wrong of her because she was going through some stuff at that time. But I was angry at her for a very long time.
There's a lot of things that are going on at play where a child, when they become traumatized, that they have or take on this anger of a parent should know, or why didn't they know? And acting those things out with their behaviors. As she said, that she began to act out in a manner of rebellion and anger and expressing those things through her behaviors, thinking that her mom would know what was going on, even though she was fearful and scared to say anything. And which this is a common theme amongst young ladies, that they feel like their mothers or their parents should know what's going on with them. And essentially they really don't. They know something's wrong, but they don't know what. And I think one of the most poignant parts was when she said that, later on in life she found out, hey, this happened to my mom too. And so there becomes a psychological back and forth of, well, how could you not know? This happened to you too. How did you not know that it was happening to me, and this being your fault because you left me here with him? this is your fault. This is something that you did directly to me, which also brings about that point of aggression and irritability and mood swings and not being able to just cope with what is going on. A lot of young children don't have the words to be able to communicate verbally what has happened to them, so they use their behaviors to describe the hurt and the pain that they're feeling. A lot of these things are known as self-defeating behaviors, defense coping mechanisms. All behaviors that we display as individuals are behaviors that we use to self-preserve, to self-protect. And so though the behaviors are not favorable, they all have a place. They all have a place of self-protection. And those are essentially what her behaviors were in the rebellion, in the substance abuse, which is also a way of self-medicating the pain. These were ways for her to try and find stability within herself when she didn't have the words to put into a storyline to be able to communicate. This is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. I'm hurting, and wanting someone to protect her, wanting someone to come and help her, and not having the words to be able to say, hey, what about me? This happened to me. What about me?
Some of the things that my mom and I went through, our relationship was just always strained. I want to believe now it was because we were both abused. I didn't know that she was until recently, but looking back, I can see that that's why. I was the stuck-up kid, the star kid. I made straight A's all the time. I was the one who brought home the report card, put it on the refrigerator, but I didn't get any support from that. I didn't get a good job. You did great. So I felt neglected. My friends got straight A's and they got rewards or whatever, and I didn't really get anything. So yeah, I was mad. I was very mad at her for a very long time. The moments where I was celebrated at school, I wish my mom was there. A lot of times my mom couldn't be at the events where your mother would be because she was working 2 jobs or whatever the case may be. Yeah, those were the moments that I missed my mother there for me. I don't even remember a lot of the times that she was or was not there. She could have been there, and to be honest, I don't remember her being there. And I think that comes from the overall culmination of her not being there. So I think that at one point I kind of blocked her out. Because if she wasn't there, how did I get there? But I don't remember her being there, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I joined the military because I wanted to get away from everything. It was so heavy on me to be this perfect person, even though I wasn't celebrated for this perfect person. And I was expected to go to college outside of high school. I was like, I'm not going to college. My whole senior year, I was barely at school. I rebelled so much, and I was like, I got to get away from here. I can't do it anymore. And my boyfriend at the time was in the military. He was in the Air Force. So then I was like, I'm going to the Navy, and I'm getting away from Gloucester. So when we moved back to Virginia from North Carolina, I got really, really close with this one guy that was in my math class, and he had an older brother. He told me that his brother was interested in me, and I went to his house. Me and the brother, which then became my husband, started talking, and kind of went from there. I did not love him when we got married. I got married out of the convenience of being able to leave. So I was basically making all of these decisions to run away from the trauma and the strain of the relationship with my mom. All of this was basically in my master plan to leave what I was really going through. Never got any counseling, I was just piling on trauma, on top of trauma, on top of trauma. I married him at 19, and then I went to the military. I picked stations everywhere but here. And guess what I got? Back here. I was pissed off. I didn't want to come back to Virginia. I live in Virginia. I want to go see the world, run away from my problems, and here I am again. Being that I was trying to run away, I never really figured out how to deal with issues. So when issues come up, your girl is running. My husband and I are now married for 2 years. We're living in Hampton now. So Hampton is a very big military city. Well, at least the apartments that we lived in. It's a whole bunch of military people that lived out there. My husband and I were having issues. Didn't get counseling for those issues. We was both young. We didn't know how to deal with issues for real. Neither one of us had a good example of a marriage and how it was supposed to work or how you're supposed to get through issues. So we just did what we knew how to do at 19 and 21 or 20 and 22. I say that to say we were having some issues. I don't even remember where he was at. He was not at home. And your girl said, I'm going on the prowl. I put on a little cat suit, a little hat, got all extra cute. I said, I'm going to this movie by myself and I'm finna go find somebody. And on my way out the door, I get in the car, I'm driving, and I hear, hey girl. I didn't used to ever answer to that. My name is not hey girl. You say excuse me, yes ma'am, something. Don't say hey girl. I hear hey girl, what the girl do? Drive around and come back and look to see who said hey girl. What? That's not you, girl. So the hey girl come to the car with one of his friends. And the hey girl jumped in the car. Window down, he jumped in the car instead of opening the door. Sir, what you doing? And then his little friend come in the car. Now I'm with these strange men. These dudes could have killed you, girl. If you just gonna let them in your car? Why? Because I don't know how to deal with trauma and I'm running. So I'm married. And then I go start dating a girl that jumped in the car. Still married, still traumatized from everything plus this failed marriage. And then I jump into another relationship. We divorced about 2 years after we were separated. Me and a girl got married. The trauma that I endured with my mother had a very big impact on my relationships. I didn't trust people at all, like ever. Romantic relationships, I looked for a parent because I didn't have a parent there to support me, mother or father. I didn't know what any relationship looked like, not a healthy one, because I didn't have a healthy relationship with anybody. Work relationships were affected because, again, I didn't trust people, so I took on everything myself. If something had to be done, guess who did it? Me. I had that if you don't do it, it's not going to be done right mentality. And that caused me to be a perfectionist because it can't not be wrong. This is what you are presenting to everybody. So you got to be perfect. I'm literally just now getting over that stuff. In my first marriage, I just laid there and took verbal abuse and didn't say anything about it. I kind of closed into a shell, but I was still there. Like my second marriage, same thing, verbal, mental, physical abuse. Like just laid there, sat there and just was abused because that's how I knew how to, that's the only thing that I knew, the only way that I knew how to handle trauma. It put me to a place where I took so much on that I couldn't take any more on, and I almost took my life twice. A person gets to a point where, regardless of how strong you are, you can only take so much. You just keep going through trauma after trauma after trauma and not dealing with it, you end up in a very dark place. And that's where I was at. I had gun-loaded pills in my hand. I was writing notes, everything. I was about to be out of this world. I was like, you know what? I'm sick of everything. I'm just tired of, I'm always wrong. I can't do nothing right. So you know what? I'm going to fix it for everybody. I'm just going to be out. I went in the room, got my husband's gun, put it in the pocket. I had on a black robe. I put his gun in my right pocket. I had a surgery or something, so I had a whole bunch of narcotics. I put the whole bottle in this other pocket and was about to put the pills in my mouth. And one of my girls, they were asleep, so this was like 3 o'clock in the morning. They were asleep, but one of them made a noise. I literally stopped in my tracks, and from that noise had the thought, what are they going to do without you? How are they going to survive with their mother gone? How did you survive with your mother gone? Do you want to put that on them?
Suicide is a psychological pain. A psychological pain, just like if you were hurting from a wound of somebody who cut you, though that type of pain can be seen by the eye. Hey, I have a cut on my wrist, or hey, I have a cut on my leg, or I have a cut on my arm. Those are pains that we can see physically. Suicide or depression, anxiety, trauma is a psychological pain that is unable to be seen by the eye. And so a lot of people use their behaviors in order to act out this level of pain, this level of I'm hurting on the inside, until they get to a point where there's no other way to describe the pain, and then it's turned inward. It becomes an inward expression of trying to run. As she said, I was trying to outrun my trauma or run away from it. But you can't outrun yourself. Everywhere you go, your trauma goes. You show up everywhere you go. And so at some point, she's like, I can't do this anymore. You know, we thank God that her daughters were there so that they could interject, and that she had the wherewithal to kind of pull it back. But this is a widespread phenomenon that we're seeing amongst a lot of people who are experiencing this trauma and not knowing that you can reach out, that you can ask for help, that there are things that you can do to address this psychological pain that you're experiencing, this level of hurt that no one can see, because you know, we all have this facade that we have it all together. You know, I'm making the good grades, I'm making the straight A's, I'm taking care of my brothers, I'm playing the wifey role, I have a good job, yet I am dying on the inside. And so suicide is one of those things that it's an outward expression of the hurt and pain where nothing else has worked. None of the defense coping mechanisms, none of the self-defeating behaviors, none of the talking, none of the achievements has helped to numb the pain that has followed her from being 8 years old all the way up. Even the manifestation of the unstable relationships in her life are a piece of how trauma has manifested in her relationships, broken relationships, unhealthy relationships, even the relationships with her children, and wanting to parent them in a certain way to have a healthy relationship. Sometimes we don't even realize that trauma is intergenerational, and that her trauma came down from her mother, and some of the things that she may do even as a parent may be traumatizing to her own children, in that, you're so scared of something happening to them that you don't realize that you're being overprotective, you're being overbearing, you're being over the top, if that's a good way to say it, about, parenting your own children because you're so fearful. That fear is in the driver's seat instead of really, really taking a look at what do I need in order for my children to be healthy as well as myself be healthy and still maintain a healthy relationship with my mother as well.
I will say that my trauma has caused me to parent the complete opposite of what I grew up with, because I know how it felt to go through that stuff. I do not want to put that on my children. I'm very involved in their lives. I'm that nosy mama. I peek over, what you doing? No closed doors in this house. We're not doing that. But I have a very open relationship with my kids. I always make sure they know that I love them. I have forgiven my mom. It took a very long time. Within the year of me opening up to her, it took a while for me to actually be able to forgive her. Like when I first opened up, ripped off that Band-Aid, so to speak, I was very angry and bitter. And it kind of affected our relationship for a little bit. I didn't talk to her as much as I had previously, but then we kind of started opening back up to each other and openly communicating, truthfully, like actually telling it like it TI is, regardless of how the other one felt or feels. And that actually was healing, and it allowed me to actually forgive her in my heart, not just in my head. Mom, mother, Ma, that's what I say to you, Ma. Even in the hell that we went through as me being a child into a teenager, even into a young adult, I love you. And I am so proud of the person that you have become. I have seen immense growth in you as a mother, a wife, a sister, a auntie, a grandma now, and you are a world changer. Your heart is so big, even in the adversity that you faced as a kid. So I want to end this by saying, forgive yourself. I love you. In me getting the healing that I'm getting, I learned who I was. I wasn't just this person's wife or just my kid's mother or a sister. I'm Amber. And that's it.
It is very common for a young girl to fall prey to unhealthy relationships, especially when they have had their innocence stolen in a manner in which Amber experienced. Amber innocence was taken at a very young age, so as she jumps in and out of these relationships, she's not looking for love, she's looking for a way out. And any man or any person that provides her with an opportunity for a way out was going to that's going to be the flavor of the week. That's going to be what we're doing. And so that was very present in the fact that she's still married, yet entertaining or looking for the entertainment of someone else, or the entertainment of, hey girl. I thought that was pretty interesting. And even though that relationship turned out to be a marriage, that marriage also was a part of the traumatic experience for her. Also breaking down that thought process, or solidifying that low self-esteem that this is all I'm worth. This is what I'm going to get. It doesn't get any better than this. And so it becomes easy for women to use what they learned as love. She's using her body, hence the cat suit. She put it together, beautiful young girl, using her body to go out there and to find that level of love. And it's not love, it's lust. It's not It's not authentic in nature. It is based on a place of brokenness. It's based on a place of, I want someone to love me for me or to see me for me. But the only type of love she learned was through her sexual experience. You know, this man came in and violated her in a way, and that immediately turns on the love receptors. If someone loves me, this is what they do to me. This is how they show me love.
Little Amber, we've made a long journey to get to where I am right now. And what I would say to you is, don't be so closed off to everybody in the world. Everybody's not out to hurt you, even though that's how you feel. You can trust people. It's actually healing to trust people. Don't let the mistake of one person affect how you view the entire world. A lot of things make me happy now. Number one, most definitely my kids. Even though they're crazy and get on my nerves, I still love them and they make me the happiest. Paint, art, dancing, cooking, all of that. Expressing myself how I want to express it. I don't give a goddamn who don't like it. Guess what? I do. It make me happy. So I'm fitting to do it. Period.